What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Farzy Show, presented by Destination Retirement, DestinationRetirement.com from the Steven Singer Studios. So everybody thought Kyrie Irving was him coming back meant that, Kevin Durant's totally going to stay there. Then I mean, come on, who's going to give up the King's ransom to the Nets? And everything's fine and dandy in Brooklyn. Nope. Even with Kyrie Irving in, Kevin Durant once out, and Ben Simmons is going to be matched up with Kyrie Irving. Yeah. There's just something so enjoyable about somebody saying that the Philadelphia 76ers working environment was toxic. And then, of course, it turns out that the Brooklyn Nets working environment is somehow more toxic than Philadelphia. Go figure. Go figure. Seeing the Nets assemble a team that was supposed to be another dynasty, at the very least win one championship for Brooklyn, make Brooklyn pass the New York Knicks as far as the dominant team in the New York area, failed miserably. And I'm here for every second of it. And I know a lot of people on the old TV there and the old Twitter were talking about Ben Simmons mean mugging the camera. Well, it looked like he was just doing shoot around or whatever it was. He's mean mugging the camera. And everyone's like, oh, this is Ben Simmons. Oh, the face you make when everyone wants to abandon you, whatever. That wasn't even, I don't think, the lead of Ben Simmons' Instagram story yesterday that a lot of people ran with, that mean mug. It was the song he was listening to in the car. In case you missed it, I think the song was entitled something like Bags of Money. That's more on brand. That's more on brand for Ben Simmons than anything else. Not him mean mugging the car. No, it's listening to a song, Bags of Money. Big old bags of cash. That, more to me, sums up the attitude that surrounds Ben Simmons in the whole idea of, I don't love basketball, but I sure love what basketball brings me, and that's big old bags of money. That's what it is. Good for them. Now, as far as the current 76ers, as we get to point and laugh at the Brooklyn Nets for just a second. As far as the 76ers go, look, we all knew that PJ Tucker was coming to Philadelphia. A little bit more, a couple of $1 million more, $3 million more than we originally anticipated him coming to Philadelphia. It is a bit of a steep deal when you think about the fact that he'll be 40 when the deal is over. So I'd like to see how the contract is actually structured. But in all seriousness, it doesn't really matter, because I think if they're creating this much flexibility with James Harden, that means that money is going somewhere else to make sure that player did sign. That player is PJ Tucker. It does also allow them to go out there and get the guys that they did get in Trevelyan Queen. All right. Going to be tough to say that one. And then also, now I've been saying Danuel House for this guy's career. Danuel House. But upon looking at some of his stats on Basketball Reference, I was like, you know what? It is spelled a little different than just Daniel. So how do you say this? And I looked on Basketball Reference, and wouldn't you know, the pronunciation guide it gives you is Danuel House with the 76ers on a 76ers. So that's where we're at right now with the Sixers. Look, these are all solid moves. The PJ Tucker move, I make no mistake about it. He is here to start. I've seen some other people's mock starting fives with the 76ers, and I do not see Matisse Thybulle starting over PJ Tucker. That's not why you brought him in here. That's not why you're paying him on average over $10 million a year when he was about to get 7.5 guaranteed from the Heat if he just would have stayed there. Instead, he opted out to get a little bit more. Well, he ended up getting a lot more. Well, $3 million more, a little bit more than $3 million more per year as now a member of the 76ers. So good for him. But you're not bringing in that type of personality. You're not bringing that type of guy. You're not bringing in that type of veteran to be an off-the-bench guy. He is here to start. I don't see, and Paul Hudrick will talk to us about this when he comes on the show in a little bit from Liberty Ballers, I don't see him and Tobias Harris having issues as two number 4s on the court at the same time. PJ Tucker is versatile enough, and the guys that he guards won't be a problem defensively. And offensively, Tobias Harris can do pretty much whatever he wants in that position. So it doesn't bother me that PJ Tucker, this is in comparison to PJ Tucker, by the way. I'm not saying that Tobias Harris is just some offensive mastermind and great handle or whatever. But in comparison to PJ Tucker, I think those two players complement each other actually pretty damn well. Tobias Harris can play defense. Tobias Harris is a good defender. He proved that in the playoffs, obviously. But when it comes to the offensive side of things, I think PJ Tucker is going to be hiding in the corner somewhere. And then he's going to let the other four guys kind of go to work. And when I say in the corner, that's not a bad thing for PJ Tucker because he's developed a nice little corner three for himself over the last couple of years. So let's see him bring that to fruition a little bit more here with the 76ers. So when I watch this team and I watch the starting five go out there, I can fully expect, and I think you can fully expect as well, PJ Tucker to be in that starting five. You're not making this move for him not to be in the starting five. Overall, DeAnthony Melton being involved in the mix as well on draft night and the moves they have made to this point, I think the Sixers have gotten significantly better than what they were last year. The Kevin Durant conversation is going to go on. I don't think he lands in Philly. It really seems like, according to multiple reports, Joel Embiid is really telling the Sixers to do what you got to do to get Kevin Durant here to Philadelphia. I am not the biggest Kevin Durant fan in the world. I haven't ever been the biggest Kevin Durant fan in the world. And him coming to Philadelphia, I think nationally speaking, puts the Sixers in legit contention for not making it out of the second round of the playoffs, not making it to an Eastern Conference Finals, not making it to the NBA Finals, but winning the NBA championship. I have my reservations about it. I think him and Joel Embiid would be pretty damn incredible. I think him, PJ Tucker on his team would be pretty incredible if you're keeping all those guys together. You would be giving up Tyrese Maxey in that deal. There's no way it doesn't happen if you were to do it. It's not going to happen. I'm saying this just to, I know it's on people's minds, the what if, the 1% out there that it might happen. For the odds of it happening, I'll just entertain it for a second. You're giving up Tyrese Maxey. You're giving up Tobias Harris, of course, which I don't think anyone blinks at. But the Tyrese Maxey thing is definitely something that the Sixers would be batting an eye at, and other people would be batting an eye at as well. The Sixers don't have the picks. I don't think the Sixers have what the Brooklyn Nets want. Tyrese Maxey is probably it. You're not going to be giving up anything else. And the Nets already have the Sixers' few first-round picks, at least with the option to take them or decline them over the next couple of years. So I don't see it happening for the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. The Miami Heat might be the better scenario there for the Brooklyn Nets, and that seems to be one of the more likely places that Kevin Durant can go. I don't look at Kevin Durant as other people look at him. He's a great scorer. He's an MVP. We all know the accolades that go there, but there's just something about his game that I just don't like. And it probably is a hangover from Thursday, from going from the Thunder to the Golden State Warriors. I just haven't been a big Kevin Durant fan really throughout his entire career. And him coming to Philadelphia, yes, I think it would put the Sixers as a favorite to win the championship. But there are certain things about his game that I just can't stand. I don't look at him as a winner. I look at him as a guy, and yes, he was the Finals MVP, and that's great. But the time he won is when he linked up with already the best team in the NBA, the team that he couldn't beat. And that just, I don't know what it I think that kind of stuff follows him around, and that's why his toes were on the line against the Bucks in that playoff game. Like, there are just certain things about Kevin Durant's game that are just like, I don't know what it is. I recognize that he's great. I recognize he's one of the greatest I've ever seen, certainly at least just in the scoring category. But there's something about him that I'm just like, nah. I'd rather just this be Joel Embiid's team and nobody else's, and watch Tyrese Maxey continue to improve, and hopefully James Harden be healthy, and PJ Tucker not get as old as 37, 38, 37, 33, 39 feels. Let's hope that's the case. And essentially run it back, but this time with PJ Tucker and a more improved bench. And then whatever else you're going to have Daryl Morey do. Because I do think Matisse Thybulle has played his last game as a member of the 76ers. I think there's another deal out there where the Sixers are going to try to get a little bit more offense coming off their bench, and they're going to use Matisse Thybulle in order to do that. I don't think Tobias Harris is going to end up getting moved. When Paul Hudrick joins us, he's talked to people about how it seems very likely, let's just put it that way, that Tobias Harris does return as a member of the 76ers for next year. So I think this is pretty much the team you're going to have, with the exception of a couple of tweaks down the line. But all in all, a solid offseason to this point from Darryl Morey and the 76ers. Here's where I'm at with the Philadelphia Phillies. Derek Hall hits 2 home runs as the cleanup hitter for the Phils yesterday in their 14-4 win over the Braves. I'll say, going into that game, as I said on this show, I looked at this game as a game you had to salvage the third game of this series and avoid the sweep. When you put up 14 runs and they got a position player finishing out the game for them, it makes it feel like it was not much of a salvage and more of a stomping. But still, nonetheless, they did salvage game 3. So let's not split hairs that I don't have. But with Derek Hall hitting those 2 home runs, he said something after the game that I thought was great. He's getting interviewed by John Kruk and Tom McCarthy on NBC Sports Philly after the game. And he gets asked about being hit in the 4 hole, batting cleanup for this team immediately coming up from the minors, right in that spot. John Kruk asked him, what does that kind of do for your confidence? How does that make you feel? And all that stuff. And Derek Hall said something that I thought was beautiful. And to paraphrase what he said, that's home for me. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm familiar with it, I believe is the word he actually used. I'm familiar with it. It's familiar to me. And I thought about that. And baseball players are so odd, where like Bobby Abreu is the guy I always go to, who would have been the best leadoff hitter the Phillies ever had if he would have batted leadoff. He always got deep in the counts, on base percentage in the 400s, would hit you at 20-some home runs a season, could steal bases, good instincts on the base paths, but he just, in his mind, he couldn't do it. So as the legend goes, he told Larry Bowa, thanks, but no thanks, I can't do it. Where you bat in the order, despite the fact you're doing the exact same thing, and despite the fact that the order really is only once. I mean, when you really think about it, what do we say all the time about a leadoff hitter? You're really only leading off once, okay? Then you have multiple leadoff hitters throughout each inning, basically. So as the game goes on. So there's just certain things that guys can't wrap their head around. And maybe Topper knows that about Derek Hall. Says, well, if I move him to the 7-hole, he's not a 7-hole hitter. I don't have anybody beating the brakes off a baseball in the 4 spot right now, so why don't I bring up a masher and just put him in there and see how it goes? As I said yesterday, I didn't like that idea when you had this kind of lineup and you had this kind of money spent on this lineup to produce, and guys weren't producing. I thought that it was odd to have a 26-year-old rookie who's never played, obviously, Major League Baseball. I didn't think it was a good idea to say, hey, go back, clean up, and, save us, basically. That rubbed me the wrong way, and I stated that yesterday. But the way Derek Hall explained it after the game made a lot of sense. It's like, yeah, this is, what do you want me to hit leadoff? You want me to bat 7th, 8th, 9th? No, this is where I'm comfortable. This is the routine I'm used to. And baseball players, like a lot of athletes, but I think particularly baseball players, are all about routine. It's like, I think even more so, it's like a kicker in the NFL who, when they know they're going to be kicking a field goal to potentially win the game, they go through their whole thing and then they're ready and they go out there and they kick. It's like baseball players when they know their spot in the order, or a bullpen arm knowing his job in that in the bullpen. And if he's a long relief guy, if he's the closer, if he's a 8th inning, if he's a setup man, whatever. They like to know when they're going to be going out there. They like to have their routine. And Derek Hall yesterday with 2 home runs showed you that routine is how he's most comfortable and where he's most comfortable. And yesterday, despite the fact he did his 2nd home run off a position player, I don't give a damn. It's the 2nd game in the big leagues, and the guy goes yard twice. First hit as a big league ball player is a home run. Couldn't be happier for him. And credit to Thompson for understanding that about him. And he gave him a lot of credit after the game, saying simply that the guy has a great work ethic, and he got exactly what he deserved, which was in his first 2 games in the big leagues, he's got 2 home runs. Albeit both of them came in 1 game, doesn't matter. And in a 14-4 stomping of a division rival. That's huge. And going forward into the St. Louis Cardinals series, you hope that he keeps it going. Now, let me get to the moment that I got some tweets from y'all's people. Mally, you hit me up. Dan Schwartz, you hit me up. My man Brandon hit me up as well. Brandon hit me up. Nick Castellanos hit a home run in June. Happy July, everybody. But Nick Castellanos did hit a home run yesterday. It was a 3-run home run that really helped that second inning explode yesterday off Ian Anderson. That was a thing of beauty. And I give Nick Castellanos full credit. And I can only hope, as we say almost every time Nick Castellanos does something well, I can only hope that this is the start of something special. Kyle Schwarber homered yesterday. Rhys Hoskins followed him with another home run. He capped off a phenomenal month of June. Rhys Hoskins did. But all in all, the guy I was most excited about, other than Derek Hall, was Nick Castellanos. I never stopped rooting for the guy. I simply said that if this Phillies team was going to sustain life without Bryce Harper, they needed Nick Castellanos to step up. And yesterday, that's exactly what he did when they needed him in that second inning. He came to the plate with 2 runners on, took care of business, and belted a home run for himself, scoring Matt Vierling and Rhys Hoskins to make it a 7-run second inning. And that, to me, folks, is what you needed from this offense to finally break out. Ian Anderson only lasted 2 innings, and he allowed 7 runs in them. Aaron Nola allowed 4 runs in 7 innings of work on 7 hits. He struck out 8, so his ERA went up a little bit, but who cares? He won. And these Phillies bats were there for him. Jarvis Familia was a little scary when he came out into the game, but you know what? Let's not concentrate on the negative. Let's be happy that the Phillies won before going into this Cardinal series. But if this is the beginning of something for Nick Castellanos, then yes, let's all get excited about that and cross our fingers that it actually is the beginning of something really good for the Philadelphia Phillies, as they need to go on a nice little run here to give them some cushion without Bryce Harper in the lineup. But if you get contributions from Hoskins continually, Schwarber's able to carry on what he's done in June. Same thing as Hoskins into July. You have Castellanos get hot, and Derek Hall is actually a 4-hole hitter in the big leagues. Phillies are going to be just fine. They got contributions from Alec Boehm yesterday as well. I will say, I thought immediately Didi Gregorius forgot how many outs there were. I thought from the moment Bryson Stott tossed him the baseball, when Aaron Nola was in that jam in the first inning, I thought immediately he forgot. It was like the way he caught that ball from Stott was way too casual. And I was like, he's not firing the first. He's not. Did he? No. And then I think even John Kruk put it out of the broadcast. You saw Didi Gregorius kind of slam the ball into his mitt in frustration. And he's like, damn, I forgot how many outs there were. Oh, boy. I remember we were just talking about this guy the other day. I remember I was at a game when Mike Lieberthal was on first base and a ball gets hit to left. And he takes off. And he's like at third base almost when the ball's caught. And I forget who they were playing at the time. And they just were like, the other team was like, what the hell is he doing? And they throw to first and they get the double play at the end of the inning. And Mike Lieberthal got booed so bad for forgetting how many outs were in the inning. Didi Gregorius, I couldn't hear the crowd that well yesterday in that reaction. But they would have been able to turn 2, that's for sure, as replay revealed. But Didi Gregorius knew what he did immediately. And it wasn't to the benefit of the team in this particular instance. But he did step up, at least from the plate, and came up with a run scored later in the game and a nice little hit for himself as well. By the way, in total, Nick Castellanos was 2 for 4 with those 3 RBIs yesterday, which was nice to see, and put his on-base percentage over 301 for the first time in quite some time. So that was nice to see as well. Phillies and Cardinals get underway tonight to start up their series. Some other news regarding the NBA. Brett Brown back in the NBA. Former 76ers head coach Brett Brown is back with the San Antonio Spurs as an assistant coach for Greg Popovich. Takes over for the Becky Hammond role as she left to become the highest paid coach in women's basketball. So good for her. And good for Brett Brown to be back in the league where he belongs. Let me tell you about Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. Mike Seibert is a retirement income certified professional at Destination Retirement LLC. and a proud partner of 1847 Financial, and an advisor for Eagles, Sixers, and Phillies fans only. Hopefully next year with the Flyers, with John Tortorella, Flyers as well. But when it comes to long-term savings, why are you giving up the current enjoyment of your income? The answer to that is income streams in retirement. It only makes sense then to understand how retirement income streams work so that you can direct savings in ways that give you the highest income when you retire. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Is the objective just to get to the top of the mountain, or is the objective to get to the top of the mountain and then back down the mountain safely? Going up the mountain is your accumulation phase. Going down the mountain is your distribution phase. These are the two different phases of your financial life, but each should be addressed separately. This month, let's talk about college planning. We all know that college is expensive. Have you ever thought about how it will affect your retirement? Let Mike show you an efficient way to help you pay for your kids' college education and still retire on your own terms. Your first step is to avoiding your growth cycle, starting your growth cycle over by depleting accounts like 529s for big expenses like college. You don't want to lose the position on your growth cycle and have to start over. You can't get that time back. Instead, let Mike set up a portal for you in Retirement Analyzer and understand how your college savings can help your annual retirement savings, and how your retirement savings can help your annual college savings. For questions and set up a meeting with Mike, you can email him at gobirds@1847financial.com. That's gobirds@1847financial.com. Or you can call his office at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035. And as always, remember, you can hit up his website at destinationretirement.com. Go Birds. And hey, let's go Phillies. How about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row? Folks, when it comes to your jewelry purchases, maybe you're looking to pop the question, you're looking to get engaged, maybe that special someone in your life, it's their birthday, whatever it might be, your anniversary, Steven Singer is here to help. And he's here to help every day with the perfect price guarantee. Now, what's the perfect price guarantee? Other jewelers, they like to mark things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks, make you feel like you won something. Oh, I got such a good, because you're a good negotiator, I'll give you $500 off. No, at Steven Singer, it's already marked down. You don't got to worry about that pressure of haggling. You don't got to worry about whether or not the person next to you is paying more than you're paying or less than you're paying. You're paying more than that person. Steven Singer gives you the perfect price guarantee. So when you sit there, you can relax. You can get walked through everything by a real jewelry expert, and you'll get treated like family. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price every single day. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite guest of the Farzy Show. I will say for a lot of you guys, it's the opposite of that Sealski character. The man of 1,000 faces, Paul Hudrick. Now, I will say this. In the interview, because we tape these usually the night before, usually if you see Riley Cote on the show, that's usually that's usually live, because the man wakes up at like I don't think he sleeps, actually. I don't think he sleeps. I think he just meditates for like 30 minutes and then he's fine. But because we taped the vast majority of these interviews the night before, the one thing that did go down was Andre Drummond did sign with the Chicago Bulls, or at least they're still working that deal out, but he's not coming to the 76ers, bottom line. I think I asked Paul about that, and to Paul's credit, he says, no, I don't think it happens. But let's get Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers, his take on all things 76ers as he joins us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, former member of the Houston Rockets, Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers. What's up, Paulie?
I'm here to add some wing depth and versatility and all that, and let's really work hard and let's go for a championship.
I'm excited. Okay, so today was a little bit of a busy day for you and all the people at Liberty Ballers, I'm sure, and basketball people across the globe as free agency opened up. Before we even get to the Sixers, it's adorable that it's like, no, hey, there's no tampering. Don't you tamper. No tamper. And literally 601, phone blowing up with Sham Wows of Sham Charania and Woj, and you got reports, my friend, like just nonstop. So why are we even bothering with this little charade of tamper?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know the Miami Heat got dinged for it last year with Kyle Lowry, and I think someone else got dinged for it last year as well. And if the Knicks don't get dinged for it, I'd be kind of surprised, because it seems pretty clear that was a whole charade. Although now they're saying Jalen Brunson's going to New York with a 5-year offer from Dallas or something, or other. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's all kind of silly. It's all nonsense. Like, clearly these guys, whether it's through back channels or whatever, like Danuel Morey and PJ Tucker clearly have a relationship. PJ Tucker clearly has a relationship with James Harden. So we all know. And like the agents, I don't know. It's just all silly. But here we are. I'm glad the tampering stuff is over with because now there is no tampering. You can just do whatever the hell you want. It's great stuff.
And here we are with PJ Tucker as a member of the 76ers on a 3-year, $33.2 million, a little bit more than we had originally anticipated because of the mid-level exception, if I'm not mistaken. So looking at all of that, I'm looking forward to seeing how this contract plays out because I'm hoping it's a little bit front-loaded. I doubt it after the other acquisitions they made, but it's going to be 30 by the time this is all said and done. PJ Tucker coming to Philadelphia. Your thoughts, Mr. Hudrick?
In a vacuum, he makes the Sixers better. He is a good basketball player. He's going to help them. You saw what he did the last 2 years, really. I mean, last year, what he did against the Sixers for the Heat, you flip him on the other side, and maybe that series looks a little bit different. The year before that, he helps the Milwaukee Bucks win a championship. And that's not like a fluke thing. This is a guy is a winning basketball player. All we heard about is they need to add toughness. They weren't physical enough. They weren't mentally tough. That's not an issue with PJ Tucker. He is all of those things. So to add a guy like that to this mix, and then just a versatile defender that can guard many positions. We saw he guarded James Harden, against the Sixers. We saw in the Celtics series, he's guarding Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Like he is a strong, versatile, physical defender. And even at 36 years old, looked pretty darn good doing it last year. With all that said, the 3 years for a 37-year-old, you're fair to be a little leery of that. It does seem like it's probably going to be more straight structure. Like it's going to be like 10-ish million each year, most likely. So that third year, when I saw fully guaranteed, my eyebrows, rose a tad because that's a lot of money to give a guy in his age 40 season potentially. So it's a lot of money. It's a move that also, though, I will say it clearly signifies we are all in. We are trying to win a championship right now. So again, in a vacuum, love the player. Love what he's going to bring to the Sixers. I think he makes them better. I think that is an indisputable fact. How that contract's going to look 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that is a very fair question that I don't have the answer to because at some point, listen, the guy keeps himself in phenomenal shape. You see him. He is a stout man. Like he is built to last, but everyone has that breaking point. At some point they fall off and the Sixers have to hope either that point doesn't come here or by the time that point comes, they've already won a championship.
I agree. Without question, it makes the Sixers better immediately. And it is no doubt a win now type of move. And I'm all about that. And that's exactly why I didn't want the Sixers making a selection at 23. I wanted that pick to be traded. Technically they made the pick, but we all know what's going on. DeAnthony Melton's here. So when you look at the rest of this squad, now look at some of these bench players, some of these guys that they brought in. Well, first off, assuming PJ Tucker's here to start, correct?
That would be my assumption is that they will start. I know some people have a little trepidation about Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker starting together. I think that's slightly misplaced because as I already mentioned, PJ Tucker guards. Like he doesn't have to guard a 4. He can, he's 6'5" and he can guard multiple positions. That's part of what makes him so good. And we also saw Tobias Harris show some a bit, like we saw what he did against Pascal Siakam. Did an outstanding job against him. So I'm not as worried about that as some others. I know the one thing that I think is fair is that neither guy is a high volume 3-point shooter to pair with James Harden. But I will say that both of those guys playing with James Harden, that's the most threes they've ever taken. Talking about Tobias and PJ Tucker. They're both averaging around 5 threes a game when they played with James Harden. So I imagine if they're both doing that, and then you have Maxey perhaps upping his volume, I feel pretty comfortable with that.
I 100% agree with you. I'm right there in the same school as you. Now, we talked about, I just mentioned DeAnthony Melton for a second there, but also look at some of the other guys that are coming to town now in Danuel house. Thank you. What does he bring to the table here in Philadelphia?
Similar to what Tucker brings, not at the same level, obviously, but what I was told is they were looking at wing depth. They were looking for physicality. They were looking for versatility. And I think that both of those guys bring that. House is, 6'6". Again, you talk about Tucker playing kind of his best basketball with James Harden. Same thing for Danuel House. He played his best ball when he was playing alongside James Harden. That's not a coincidence. There is something to that. And I think James Harden playing some of his basketball with those guys, I think there is something to why they had been brought here to make James more comfortable and to have him, have those guys kind of, trickle down what they know about playing with James to the other guys. I think it's going to help in that regard too. But House, again, 6'6", can guard 1 through 3. We talk about, again, physicality, guys who are that quote unquote dog, like Danuel House is a dog. Like he's going to get after it on both ends. He's high energy. He's got a great motor. The shot has been up and down throughout his career. When he closed the year with Utah last year and shot very well. When he was with Houston, shot the ball very well. So that's kind of his, for lack of a better term, his swing skill. If he's making shots at a high rate, that makes him even more valuable. But he does a lot of other stuff too. He is a valuable player that can do a bunch of different things. I look at it like you talk about the starting lineup. It's Embiid, Harris, Tucker, Maxey, Harden. Your first 2 off the bench are DeAnthony Melton and Danuel House. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better about those 2 being the first 2 guys off the bench than whoever it was last year, whether it was Shake Milton, whether it was George Niang, whether it was DeAndre Jordan.
Right.
I feel better about those 2 guys being the first 2 guys off the bench. Then you have one of those young guys, whether it's Charles Bassey or whether it's Paul Reed as the backup center. That's 3 bench spots that I feel very good about. Now, there will be competition for the rest, I would assume. Shake Milton will be in that mix. Matisse Thybulle will be in that mix. I hope Isaiah Joe is in that mix. We will see. If Jaden Springer has a tremendous camp, maybe he can work himself into that mix. But and also too, Mark, maybe they're not done. We don't know. They could still make some moves. Whether it's I didn't even mention Furkan Korkmaz. His contract is extremely tradable. Maybe that's a guy you move. So they're not done yet. We'll see what happens. But I think you have to go. What we've already seen, I feel much better about their depth now than I did at really any point last season.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you as far as that goes. So let's talk
George
about
Niang too. I forgot all about George Niang.
Oh, yeah.
Because, George struggled in the playoffs, but during the regular season, he was their most consistent, durable reserve. He banged up his knee a little bit, which I'm sure had an effect in the postseason. He also has a history of, coming up a little short, quite frankly, with Utah in the postseason. So we'll see, where does he kind of fit? Because Tucker and Harris both play the 4. Where does that leave Niang for minutes? Is he just kind of an extra guy? So I'm curious to see where he fits as well.
Paul Hudrick of Liberty Ballers, you put it out there that some sources, people you've talked to, say that Tobias Harris will most likely come back to the 76ers. Sacramento apparently is knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door as well for Matisse Thybulle, maybe. Do you still, at this point, after the first wave of moves that have been made, do you still feel Tobias Harris will be in that starting lineup when the season opens up for the 76ers?
I do. And when I reported that, first of all, somebody actually tweeted this at me and said, Paul is becoming the reporter that reports all the news that Sixers fans hate, which I have to say, my heart just so warm when you hear things like that. But anyway, no, that's not to say they haven't explored it. And that's also not to say it definitively doesn't happen, because it still could. There's a fella named Kevin Durant whose name's got that dangled out there, and the Sixers, if they were somehow pulled off that miracle, Tobias Harris would have to be the guy that goes to match the salary. I don't see that path happening. And I think that was really the only path to a Tobias Harris trade, is if he was the salary matching piece for a star. And right. I don't think that move is out there. And what I've been told, Mark, I've been told this all offseason, is that they're not in the business of dumping guys. They will not trade a player simply to get rid of their salary. If they're going to trade a player, they need an asset in return. And so Tobias Harris, with that contract, which we all know, he's not a max player on a max contract. We're all painfully aware of that fact. You weren't going to find a deal that gets Tobias out and gets you off that contract while bringing back a player that helps you now, or players that helps you now. It's just not a feasible scenario when he has 2 years left on that contract, worth almost $40 million each year. Next year is probably the more feasible time where if you wanted to explore it, it makes more sense, because then he's an expiring and then you could do some different things perhaps. But it never felt like to me that it was close. I know Keith Pompey reported that they gauged interest, and I'm sure they did. I'm not that I'm not refuting Keith's report at all. Like, I'm sure when the offseason began, they gauged interest. And this seems to me like, okay, we've gauged interest. It's not really there. And so we're going to go into the season with Tobias Harris, who, by the way, he's not the worst basketball player in the NBA. Like, I think some people just need to pump the brakes a little bit. Like, I get it. He's not what his contract is, but like, I think I've mentioned this before, if you just swap him and Maxey in their contracts, or if you just go somewhere in the middle where they both make like $20 million, you feel a lot better about it. So I think that's how you kind of have to look at it. Tobias is going to help this team, right? Like, if he keeps doing what he did in the playoffs, which is he really upped the level of defensive play throughout the playoffs. He was much more aggressive and much more decisive, taking those catch and shoot threes off of Harden. If he does those things, he can fit in really nicely and still help this basketball team. Again, not to that max contract level, but he can still help this team.
No, 1,000% agree with you on that. Some other guys that are out there. Well, first off, let's just close the book on this one for a second. In a world where Kevin Durant is interested to come to Philadelphia, the Sixers obviously have interest, whatever, we're talking at least Harris and Maxey just to start the conversation, aren't we?
Yeah. And then the conversation is going to have to go a lot longer than that.
Yeah, right.
The biggest issue too is there's a couple of huge issues, quite frankly, but one is they don't have draft picks to trade. I don't think their first available. They already
gave them to the Nets.
Exactly. Their first available draft pick is not till like 2027. I think that they're actually able to trade because of the Stepien rule, which says you can't trade first round picks back-to-back seasons, blah, blah, blah. It's very boring. But the deal is basically you can't trade your first round pick till 2027. So that's out for the Nets. You can't have any of that. The only player that they would probably value would be Tyrese Maxey, right? I mean, Tyrese Maxey does look like an up-and-coming star in this league. I think that's fair, and he's got tremendous value. But if that's all the Nets are getting, I feel like a team like the Phoenix Suns, which Kevin Durant has already said is his preference to go to, can figure out a better package to give the Nets that would be more appealing than the Sixers, even if Kevin Durant wanted to come to the Sixers, which there's been no signs of that. And even the Miami Heat theoretically could offer, that was supposedly the number 2 team on his list. They could offer something better than the Sixers. So I think the only way Kevin Durant winds up in Philadelphia, and I just don't see it happening, is if he goes to the Nets and says, I am going to be a Sixer or I'm going to sit out. And I don't see that scenario playing out.
Bradley Beal and the deal that he signed, is he ruled out or is it still potential for a sign and trade? Yeah.
So he cannot be traded now. I think he has to wait maybe a year. So again, you're talking about possibly when Tobias Harris is on that expiring deal next year. And if it goes south again for the Wizards, which it probably will, because they don't really have much outside of Bradley Beal, then that's when maybe you can explore that and it becomes a little bit more realistic. But again, outside of Tyrese Maxey, I'm not sure what assets the Sixers have that teams are lining up to take right now.
Last thing, as far as future acquisition, any chance Andre Drummond comes back to Philadelphia to back up Joel Embiid?
I don't see it. I think he gets more than the minimum, which is what he signed for last year. And right now, when you look at the Sixers and where they are, it depends on what kind of contract James Harden signs, but I doubt he signs like PJ Tucker's going to get the non-taxpayer MLE. You have Danuel House is going to get the biannual exception.
Paul. Danuel.
He's going to get the biannual exception. So that's out of the picture. So all you really have to offer guys at this point is minimum contracts. So unless Andre Drummond wants to come back again on a minimum contract, I don't see it. Plus, their roster's full, actually. As of right now, they don't have open roster spots. So I personally don't see it. I would not be for it. And I like Andre Drummond a lot. I thought he did a really nice job when he was here. But to me, Paul Reed and Charles Bassey, let them compete. Let them have the first crack at that backup center role. Paul Reed was very good in it. I think Charles Bassey has a ton of potential to fill that role as well. I think their best course of action is let one of those two guys be the back of the Joel Embiid.
All right. When you look at this roster as it is, we talked about the starting 5. We talked about how that's improved. We've talked about how the guys off the bench have improved. Your depth has improved. How much better overall Has this 76ers team improved from when they walked off the court in the second round of the playoffs against the Miami Heat?
I think they're much better, quite frankly, when you look at the guy. Like, so they've lost DeAndre Jordan, okay, Paul Millsap, and Danny Green, which is that's not a laugh at loss. That's Danny Green played a vital role in this team. But you replace those guys with PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and DeAnthony Melton. That's pretty significant. Right. And I think their biggest issue, and I think you and I have talked about this before, you look at a team like the Heat, who they lost to, the Heat had like 7 or 8 or 9 guys that they felt comfortable with playing in a playoff atmosphere. You look at the two teams that just played in the finals, whether it was the Warriors or the Celtics, same thing. So many guys that they felt comfortable throwing into a playoff situation. How many did the Sixers actually have? Like 4? On a good night, they had 4. Right. Really now, I would say you probably have 7, maybe even 8. If Paul Reed or Bassey can really step up and take that backup center role to another level. So I feel much better about this team. And then that's not even factoring in, you hope Joel Embiid's face isn't broken the next time they play in the playoffs. You hope James Harden, I think he was more hurt than what we were led to believe. So I hope, you hope that there is a healthier and better version of James Harden who's here longer and is more comfortable playing next to Joel Embiid. And then Tyrese Maxey. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. It is a when, not if, this guy is an all-star. Like, he is that good. He is just entering year 3. He is going up. So another year of his growth and him getting better, I think all of those are huge factors. And, and the other things too, Mark, you need all these, when I talk about these other teams, you need a young guy or young guys to step up. To kind of, get whether it's an Isaiah Joe, whether it's a Matisse Thybulle or Shake Milton, one of those guys, you're going to need one of them to kind of step up and really evolve and develop and try to take on a bigger, I shouldn't say need, but it would be very helpful if one of those guys did that, because when you're a team like the Sixers and you're spending all this money and you're so top heavy, you need cheap contracts and you need cheaper guys to contribute, and your young players stepping up is one way to do that.
I agree. And last thing for you here, Paul. I agree that this team has improved a good deal when it comes to what they've done so far. When it comes to the rest of this offseason, should we just be expecting tweaks with this team, or are we going to be expecting something more of a shocking move? Well, I guess it won't be that shocking if we're expecting it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would say tweaks because my feeling is this. I know there was a lot of noise around Matisse Thybulle, and I get it. But like I already said, they weren't gonna trade Matisse Thybulle just to trade him. The only way they were going to trade him is if they got something of value in return. My feeling is if that trade was out there, they would have already made it. Maybe another team, maybe now once free agency, once the dust settles a little bit, maybe a team looks at the roster and says, you know what? We didn't address defense enough, and maybe we should call Darryl Morey and see what it would take to get Thybulle. Maybe something like that opens up. Maybe something with Furkan Korkmaz opens up. But and even that, like, that's, to me, you know what I mean? That's not like a groundbreaking move. Like, it's a move that might help them. Like, if you trade a Thybulle or a Korkmaz for a more veteran player that could perhaps help you more now and is more, aligned with your timeline. But yeah, it seems more like marginal move stuff on the edges, which sometimes, listen, Mark, sometimes that's the difference, right? Like, sometimes you sign a guy to a minimum and he winds up playing a huge role for you. That happens all the time. So it wouldn't be crazy to think that a guy who we're just kind of saying like, they signed this fella and who cares? But maybe that matters. It might.
What are we doing for the 4th, my friend?
Nothing fun, man. Nothing fun, man. We're hanging out. We had our short trip last weekend before the July 4th craziness, and as you know, Mark, toting around children on a beach is a hell that I can't describe. So yeah, I'm not like eager to do that again. Maybe later in the summer, but yeah, it was, and it's so funny because like you have like all the other parents like looking at you like, we've been there.
We've been there.
Cool. You want to lend a hand or something because you know what it's like anyway. But yeah, nothing crazy for us. Just probably just chilling at home, doing some barbecue. Nothing too nuts.
Very nice. Well, you enjoy your family, brother. I really appreciate you coming on and breaking all this 76ers conversation and NBA conversation, breaking it all down with us. The great Paul Hudrick. Follow everything he's doing, of course, on Twitter and at Liberty Ballers, doing some great things with the people of Liberty Ballers. Paul, thanks so much, brother.
Anytime, Mark. You got it, man.
The great Paul Hudrick, former Rocket, joining us here on the Farzy Show on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. See you, Paul. Some good years with those Rockets. Some good years. Some really better years than Charles Barkley had with those Rockets. I'll tell you that much right now. Paul Hudrick, friend of the show. And am I crazy, or did Paul look exactly the same in back-to-back interviews for the first time ever? Because usually he doesn't. Usually it looks like two totally different people. Usually it looks like he committed some heinous crime, had to change his look, and then he comes on the show after that, and it's like, who are you, the real Paul Hudrick? Anyway, thanks to Paulie from Liberty Ballers joining the program. Always appreciated. And I'm going to scream this from the mountaintops. You're going to hear me say this a million times between now and the early goings of the 76ers season. It's going to be right up there with probably how many times I reference Jalen Hurts needs to take that huge step forward to get that big contract and prove he's the franchise guy and make us think we have a quarterback for the next 10 years here in Philadelphia. You know, that whole thing. So along those same lines, I think this 76ers upcoming season, if you're to talk about the player who can affect it the most in terms of improvement from last year to this year, it's Tyrese Maxey. I think you can get a lot still out of James Harden. I think the whole chokes in the playoff thing can go away as long as he has Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid scoring points, and Tobias Harris probably is close to Maxey as far as improvement from last year to the upcoming season goes. But I think number one is Tyrese Maxey. If he can be that second scorer right behind Joel Embiid, like if Joel Embiid is averaging close to 30 points a game and he's close to 24, 25 points per game, averaged, I think, just around 20 last year, you're going to be talking about a pretty special basketball team with the facilitating ability and three-point threat of James Harden and still driving and going to the foul line and all that stuff that James Harden can still do pretty damn well at this age. I think this team can make some noise as constructed right now. And I think, and what I'm crossing my fingers for, is that by the NBA's trade deadline this upcoming season, all the Sixers need are some tweaks. All they need is some more help off the bench. I'm hoping that they won't have to make a move that will risk the future, make it look like it's Joel Embiid, make it look like Joel Embiid's window with the Sixers is not only Joel Embiid's window with the Sixers, but the window the Sixers have for the next decade to actually compete again for a championship, because Lord knows we've been through the purgatory years for the 76ers. But right now, I think that if you watch Tyrese Maxey take that big step forward again this season, you're talking about not just him being an all-star, as Paul Hudrick mentioned, but you're also talking about this team truly competing for an NBA title. I think you are going to see a couple tweaks to go back to that. I think you're going to see some other tinkering, some more tinkering that Daryl Morey is going to do throughout this offseason. But all things being equal, I think when the season starts, you are predominantly going to have the roster that you're going to have in the postseason. A couple of tweaks after that. And yes, everyone stays healthy, cross your fingers, all that stuff. But I think that it all hinges on Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid does what he does, competes for an MVP again. James Harden plays that role of facilitator, gets you about 18 to 20 points per game, and can get you 10 assists per game and 8 rebounds and all that. Well, with these guys scoring for him, maybe James Harden gets 12 assists per game. And then hopefully Tobias Harris is able to connect a lot more than what he was able to do last year. It seemed like he really struggled. He would make strong, aggressive moves to the rack, and then he'd shoot a little 5-foot jumper and clank off the rim. Hopefully he doesn't have 2 seasons like that in a row. And then you get the help from the bench, and then you look a lot better going forward. I think the Sixers right now are constructed to compete for a championship. I think it definitely comes to fruition if Maxey takes another, not even giant step forward like last year to this year, but takes a step forward. James Harden's healthy. James Harden isn't just 33 years old and aged. I think he comes in here and he plays a lot better than what you saw last year, which was pretty damn good for the most part until the playoffs. And then, obviously, Tobias Harris takes a step forward as well, steps up again. And I do think he will end up being back here in Philadelphia. So we'll cross our fingers that this team, as constructed, is ready to make at least finals run in the upcoming season. Let me tell you about the great people at Rothman Orthopedics who bring us our guest line each and every day. When you have an orthopedic issue, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, so they're an expert in that category. You can visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only urgent cares. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Rothman Orthopedics, the official orthopedic partner of your Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers. How about versus game? Folks, the spicy meatballs we've been throwing out there on versus game. If you're not participating on versus game, what are you doing? What are you doing? Download the Versus Game app on your phone as soon as humanly possible, okay? It's for your own well-being. Follow at Farzy Show and answer the questions that we throw out there, like these spicy meatballs. 1, will Nick Castellanos hit a home run in June? We asked that question a week ago, and my man Pots and Pans waited to June 30th, the last day of the month, to go yard. So all the people that voted, or the 200-plus people that voted, you won yourself some money if you said yes, if you kept the faith that he would hit a home run in June. Congratulations. You guys won some money. Then the next question, the one that's live right now through Sunday night. Will Derek Hall hit more home runs than Nick Castellanos? Ladies and gentlemen, did you see the game yesterday? Nick Castellanos, home run. Derek Hall, I see that, ties it up, 1 apiece. Then Derek Hall, off a position player, says, how about another one? Belts one to right field. It barely made it out, but nonetheless, it was a 68-mile-per-hour. I don't even want to say what it was because it was a pitch. It was a pitch. I don't know what they were trying to do, but probably just throw a strike. And Derek Hall took care of business, belting it over the right field wall. So now he's got 2. Nick Castellanos has 1. So right now, Derek Hall is winning that one. Will Derek Hall hit more home runs than Nick Castellanos? Right now, yes, is winning. Let's see if he's still able to hit more home runs than Nick Castellanos by the end of the weekend, by Sunday night against the Cardinals. So that's the question we got on Versus Game right now. Download the Versus Game app. Once again, here's the logo for y'all's people. Boom. Versus Game. Right there. Download to your phone. Have yourself a good time. How about Freestone Farm CBD? Here's the feeling good all the time. FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You want to make you even feel better than the CBD? 20% off the CBD when you use promo code Farzy at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. That's right, promo code Farzy for 20% off upon checkout. Oh, you guys, you're going to love their menu. It's exciting. At FreestoneFarmCBD.com, they have an all-new strain menu, supremely good CBD at prices that you'll love. The menu is something that you'll have to check out with strains like their insane tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. The genetics of these guys, fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like CBD, if you like the best CBD, if you like 20% off anything you enjoy that you have to buy, use promo code Farzy at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. That's FreestoneFarmCBD.com. There's absolutely nothing synthetic from farm to jar. So please, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Promo code Farzy. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into the chat check, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin, what's going on? Nice to see you. Mally, how are you? Kevin, hello. Mickey, hello. Saying hello to everybody. 14 points on the Braves. Nice. Mickey, I love that you called them points. Love it. Sean Gillespie, morning all. KD, please, Sixers. I'll try to watch soccer, even to go to a Union game. I got my reservations about Kevin Durant. As I stated in the opening monologue, if you will, of the show, I got my reservations about Kevin Durant. I got some reservations. I don't like Kevin Durant. You can call me a hater, whatever. But Kevin Durant is a guy that ran from the Thunder to the team he couldn't beat, helped that team win the championship, won Finals MVP, and that was great, and it was wonderful. He was a great player, and then failed in Brooklyn. Was it all his fault? No, it was not all his fault. Harden was like, "This is weird. I'm out. Deuces." Kyrie Irving's like, "I don't think I should. I'm not gonna be around much." And then it was even before the vaccination stuff, he was like, "I don't really understand this guy." And then Kevin Durant, "Oh, he's back. Yeah, I think I'm definitely out now." And then Ben Simmons is there. Yeah, deuces again. I'm out of here. I think the Sixers obviously become a favorite to win a championship if Kevin Durant comes here. And I think that the Sixers can win a championship as currently constructed. I think it's possible. I think they're certainly not a far cry, I don't think, from it. But there's a lot of mortgaging the future because I think after Joel Embiid is done, I think Tyrese Maxey will be the leader on this team. And I'd like to see a nice little transition there from the Joel Embiid era to the Tyrese Maxey era. And if you get Kevin Durant, that's not happening. Yes, you become a favorite to win the championship. But it's obviously not a guarantee. And Kevin Durant, I know excites a lot of people. I got major reservations about it. I'm not all, yeah, let's do it right away. I think if the Sixers actually had the capital, and when I say the capital, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris is not getting you Kevin Durant. That's the only way you start the conversation. They're not getting Kevin Durant for that. You got to give up a lot more after that as well. And I'm not all about that. And I don't even think they have the price that the Nets are going to be demanding. I don't even think they have the money to pay, the assets to pay. Hey, Sean, KD to the Sixers. Let's do it. There we go. Dan Schwartz, good morning. Welcome back. I starts my shirt just for you. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to make sure I had that song right. Actually, that Ben Simmons fella was jamming out to. Let me see if I could just pop that in real quick. Who's this gentleman I'm looking for? Benjamin Simmons? Okay, let's see if I can get this here. Okay, him in a car. Gold Stacks. Sorry, it was not Bags of Money. It was Gold Stacks by Future. That's what he was listening to. That's about right. By the way, I was watching the old Sports Center, had the old Sports Center on, and John Anderson. And our man Max McGee was on. Philly guy, Temple guy, Philly area guy. And I say that for the people that don't consider South Jersey Philadelphia. It's not, I understand, but just to be clear. Anyway, Max McGee was on, John Anderson was on, and they're doing a highlight of the WNBA. And Ben Simmons was sitting courtside in is it a kangaroo hat? It wasn't a Kango hat, whatever it was. It was like a Gilligan hat. I know it is a Gilligan hat. And John Anderson goes, Ben Simmons, courtside. He didn't play in this one either. Anyway, back to the action. And I just thought, I laughed out loud. I'm still laughing about it. I'm driving down to Maryland today, and I'll be thinking about that on the ride down, and I'll just laugh occasionally when it pops into my head. Ben Simmons not playing in this one either. How many Sixers are a part of the AARP? Just Harden or Tucker? And Tucker? Probably didn't know it's official. Dan, probably. Dan Schwartz, I did that for you and mostly your shirt, you hunk. Nick Castellanos to Marc Farzetta after last night's home run. That was nice. Did you see Joey Votto was talking to a Cubs fan when he was playing at Wrigley, and he was this little kid, probably I would say 9 or 10 years old, and he's talking to him before his at bat. I think he gave the kid a fist bump, and the kid was a Cubs fan, for the record, friendly confines. And Joey Votto goes up to the plate, hits a home run, comes back, taps home plate, high fives his teammate, walks right over to the kid and high fives him, and then goes into the dugout. I thought that was a pretty cool moment for Joey Votto, who likes playing the villain, in case you didn't remember that. Let's not forget, in Citizens Bank Park a couple of years ago, Joey Votto caught a ground ball and was like waving it at a little kid like he was going to throw it to him, and then he put it in his pocket. You jerk. I thought it was funny. Anyway, Sixers definitely get better, probably make it to Game 7 of the second round. Dan, rain on my parade. Guapo, April, Mally. Nola definitely looks more confident pitching this season. Yeah, he does. He looks good. April. John Axelman. What's up, buddy? Paul Gaston. There will be only one PJ in our hearts. Producer Jim. Mally. You're damn right. Oh, that was in response to Paul Gaston. Paul said there's a new PJ in town. PJ Tucker. And Paul said there's only one. Excuse me. Mally said, Paul, there's only one PJ, and that's producer Jim. Adorable. What? Mally. Paul Hudrick, the most professional wrestler / sports writer in the business. I like that. Dan Schwartz. Marc, if you were... Dan Schwartz. Marc, if you were offered an exorbitant amount of money to replace Angelo, would you consider it? If yes, would we be VIPs? And how would you let them know that PJ is a must? Well, here's what would happen, Dan. You guys wouldn't be VIPs. You guys would be co-hosts. That's what I do. And to answer that question, you offer me an exorbitant amount of money. There's not a lot I wouldn't do. But I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'm saying this with a straight face. This is the best job I ever had. This is the best job I ever had. It's going to be hard to pry me away from this desk. And this particular microphone, in this particular setting, and this incredible work-life balance. Yeah. And yes, from producer Jim as well. Producer Jim, let's not forget, is 6'8", okay? And he would physically have to remove me from this desk. That's right. Producer Jim, at 7'1", would have to come here and physically remove me from this desk to make me do something else on top of the exorbitant amount of money. Because when producer Jim, who's 7'9", wants me to do something, I listen. Because I'm not messing with his 8'2" frame that's going to just pick me up like a rag doll, folks. Right? Right. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, not happening, Dan. Let me just say that. Was it like Golick the other day shooting it down? I'll go and just shoot down anything like that. Jacob Bloss. Matisse Thybulle for Nasir Little. Best asset Portland would be willing to give up besides Josh Hart. Interesting. Mickey Diaz, great question. Dan. Oh, great question, Dan. Well, Mickey, there you go. I don't like D'Angelo Russell, Jacob. I respect him. I just think he's way too much of a volume shooter to be in this lineup with the scorers you're already going to have. That's one thing. I don't hate D'Angelo Russell like some other people, but I just think he needs the ball way too much. Sixers have a 1-year window. That's kind of what it feels like, Ray. Jacob has Harden, Maxey, Hart, Tucker, and Embiid. Wow. Don't mind that. D'Lo is your sixth man? Wow. Yeah, if he's rotational and you can spread it out, you can stagger those minutes. I just don't think that's the way it would go down here in Philly. Baba Boucher. I'll take Yinder. Poor JoJo. Darian. What's up, Darian? Jim Grassmeter. What's up? Sean Gillespie. Hello again. Like Homer Simpson on the beach. Missed it. Sorry. Gotta love Huddy. Wow, Dan. That's all I'm going to be calling Paul Hudrick now. Mally, Marc got the CBD sponsor. Now he need a THC sponsor. Can't believe Marc's dogging KD this much. Yeah, I don't respect him. How about that? Like, put it this way. I understand things just kind of there's you just kind of have to do. If you can get Kevin Durant, you get Kevin Durant. I just don't think it guarantees you anything. There's no guarantees, obviously. Does it put you in the best spot? If you got no bench, didn't we learn last year that you don't have a bench? You don't have any? Like, yeah, it's great to have a solid, great starting five and all that, but I think you're not only depleting the rest of your bench and the rest of your lineup, I think you're depleting your future as well. I just don't think with the way if the Sixers had all their first round picks, then maybe I would consider it. Because then you're not, you're still mortgaging the future, but you're still giving up Tyrese Maxey. You're giving up Tobias Harris because of the money. Kevin Durant would be great. He'd be great. And yes, the Sixers would be a favorite. But in reality, I don't see how the Sixers can pull it off. I don't think they have, as I said, the capital to do so. Mopar. What's up, Mopar? They scored as many runs last night for Nola as they did in all of last year. It's a crime. That's certainly what it seemed like. Wait, I just saw a great reference, and then my chat skipped. Damn it. Marcy, okay, come on. It was something about Target and Kohl's, two of my favorite places. I lost it. The Mopar. When you go from shopping at Target to Kohl's, this is what you look like. Wait, what? Oh, you guys are commenting on my shirt. Oh, okay. I do love Kohl's, but I feel like whenever I haven't been to Kohl's in a long time, but I feel like when you go to Kohl's, I feel like they have these great discounts and sales and stuff, and then somebody puts something on the wrong rack, and you're like, oh, this suit is only $200 or whatever, and then you get to the checkout. Yeah, I'll buy off the rack. I don't give a damn. And you buy the suit, and you go buy the suit, and they go, oh, okay, so you got the suit on sale for $350. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Sign over there says $200. It's like, oh no, it was on the wrong rack. But anyway, and they're like, oh well, I'm already here, and it's a nice suit. All right, you got me, Kohl's. Plus, I bought my dad a nice little mug for Father's Day because they have that great little section where you. Anyway, all right. Kohl's is like the great place where you could buy little. I used to for Christmas like every year. My dad probably had the crappiest little desk trinkets for his office. Thanks, Kohl's. Those like whatever those tempo things are that are supposed to be soothing. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, T-Bro. What's up, T-Bro? Farzy is definitely a Republic of Nanners. I refer to it as the Republic of Bananas. Yes, that's how I like to refer to it. And I'll say this. Banana Republic in their shirts, some of them, especially in their linen shirts, their nice linen shirts, they keep me in a large and not an XL. God bless you, Republic of Bananas. Yes, we know it's the Banana Republic, but the Republic of Banana. That's how I like to say it. I refuse to listen. Oh, that's very nice, Mally. It's very nice. All respect to my friends still in the business. Good luck. I will say, this job makes me feel like I have some of the first tickets to like the first great rock show. That's how I feel doing this show. It's like I've been on both sides, obviously, and this side's pretty friggin' awesome. So that's what I will say. 76ers, Jacob. Sixers have to. Okay, Sixers have to have one more trade in them since they're waiting on Harden signing to figure out the salary cap. Great point, and I think that trade is the Maxey trade. Or excuse me, Thibault trade. Thibault trade. I think that trade is the Thibault trade. Dan Schwartz, what if they moved the radio station to Bucks County? Would it technically be Philly Sports Radio still? Well, hey, we were out in Bala Cynwyd for a long time. WIP was out in Bala Cynwyd, still Philly radio. And then now they're in Center City. Yeah, they were in Old City when I was with them. Well, Bala and then Old City. I'm 36 waste in Kohl's, but 34 waste at Target. Explain that to me. Kohl's is generous. That's what's what. When Marc moves up to Macy's, his style may kill us. It's going to look so good. This shirt, ladies and gentlemen, is a little place called the Thai Bar. They used to be in Center City, but not anymore. Their stuff is still available online, and it's a great spot. But yeah, Macy's. Thanks, but no thanks. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic as per usual, and I hope all you. I hope all you guys have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. We're going to have a special interview. I want to make sure I mention this right now. We're going to have a special interview with Emily Tambusi on Monday. Emily is a young lady from South Jersey who is the owner and coach of the Delaware Snipers ABA basketball team. I'll say it one more time. Owner and coach, young lady, played at Cairn University, is the coach and owner of an ABA basketball team. And they're right there in Delaware, the Delaware Snipers. Emily will join us on Monday to give us, all her backstory. Tell us about the Delaware Snipers. Tell her about how some of her players were featured in the movie Hustle. We got to know each other because we frequent the same Woodering Hole / restaurant in Philadelphia, Grand Cafe L'Aquila. And we got introduced. We started talking, and she's great. And she also gives us her view on the 76ers themselves, including how great she thinks Tyrese Maxey is. So how about that? So don't miss that on Monday. We'll have ourselves a good time. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Let's move on to the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. The Morning Rush. Phillies back in action right away tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll see how this game plays out. 6:05 start time tonight. See if these guys can continue their great June into July. On the hill, Bailey Falter, supposed to get the start. The lefty, supposed to get the start for the Phillies. He's 0-2 in the season with a 4.50 ERA. And Miles Mikolas will get the start. Right-handed pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. Just 5-5 on the season, but he does have a 2.57 ERA. That's what he's bringing to the table here for the Cardinals. Also, just worth noting, has been pretty hot his last 4 starts, allowing no more than 2 runs and going at least 6 innings in each of his last 4 starts. He's getting 1-run performance, 4-hit performance as well for the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's what Miles is bringing to the table. A Juniper, Florida native, by the way. So that's what he has going on. As far as the standings go and how much they changed in this series with the Braves while everything else was going on, Phillies right now 7.5 games out of first place. Braves 3.5 games out of first place. The Mets have lost 3 in a row now. They've only won 4 of their last 10, which is a little surprising for the New York Metropolitans. Wild card wise, and this is a little bit more significance than anything else, the Phillies are 2.5 games out of a wild card spot that is currently occupied by the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, the wild card outlet looks like this: Padres, Braves, Cardinals, Giants, Phillies. That's where it looks right now. Phillies are 2.5 games out of that third and final wild card spot occupied by the St. Louis Cardinals right now. So here's to winning for the Phillies. In closing, the New York fan that called WFAN in New York, and then later called, I think, to Johnny Marks and Ike later in the day as well in WIP. I thought the story happened. I didn't think the story happened the way the New York fans said it happened. The Maple Shade fella. Honestly, the way Nick Sirianni explained it to John Clark, and John Clark put the story out there, made a hell of a lot more sense. Where the fan was kind of going back and forth with Nick Sirianni, and Nick Sirianni said it was playful, it wasn't serious, it was busting chops, ha. And then the fan was like, I can use this, calls into the fan, and sticks his chest out and makes it seem like he was really challenging Nick Sirianni to a fight. That was the part that made me think of a very old SNL sketch, John Lovitz and the compulsive liar. Yeah, and then I challenged him to a fight. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then after that, Amelia Earhart showed up. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, I understand and thought that the guy had an interaction. I thought he had an interaction with Nick Sirianni. I thought it was playful, and I think he wanted to stick his chest out. That's how I thought it went down. And that's pretty much what happened. So go figure. But Nick Sirianni calling out a guy with a Yankees cap and a Giants shirt, or vice versa, whatever it was. Pretty damn funny. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My thanks to Paul Hudrick for joining the show. My thanks to Jim Hyden, doing a phenomenal job. Don't miss Monday's show. We'll have a special little feature for you with Emily Tambusi, once again, of the Delaware Snipers. You don't want to miss that interview. She was a great interview. She was a lot of fun to talk to. And you guys can check that out on Monday. I will give you some live reaction on Monday's show as well. So that'll be a part of it. It won't just be all in the can, as we like to say in the business. So I will be with you live for at least a portion on Monday morning. Thank you so much, everyone, for